What would you do if I told you we had a secret weapon against the Nazis that was smaller than a Tommy gun, cuter than a Jeep, and could fly? What if I also told you it was basically useless after the war? You'd probably think I was talking about a bunch of trained mice, right? Well, not quite. The Allied Pigeon Service used over 300 birds during World War II, and they were crucial to some of the biggest invasions of the war, including D-Day. That's because these birds were the original one-man army, able to carry messages of up to 100 words and travel at speeds of 60 miles per hour. Not bad for a pigeon. The homing pigeon is a breed of domestic pigeon that can navigate back to their loft or coop by themselves after being released in an unfamiliar location. They were selectively bred for this behavior over hundreds of years, and they have an incredible ability to remember visual landmarks and smells. They can even learn new routes after being shown the way a few times, but how exactly did they deliver messages? Well, it's not like the pigeons could just drop a letter off at their destination. Instead, they carried tiny aluminum canisters that were rolled up with a message inside. This canister was then attached to the pigeon's leg, and when the bird returned home, the message would be removed and deciphered. The birds couldn't read or write, but they could fly incredibly long distances, much faster than any other delivery method available at the time. The idea of using homing pigeons in wartime goes back hundreds of years, but their military use didn't become widespread until World War I back then. The US military had just 24 hours to deliver messages to the troops, and so they turned to the birds, who made the journey in less than half the time. 282 pigeons served in World War I, most of them in France. They delivered 10,000 messages and saved countless lives. But between wars, the novelty wore off. People forgot about the birds, and the military developed more advanced communications technology. But that all changed when the Second World War broke out. After France fell to the Nazis in 1940, the British were desperate for a way to communicate with resistance fighters on the ground. The Germans had jammed all the radio frequencies, so nothing was getting through. But the birds were unaffected and became the primary means of communication for the British Expeditionary Force in France. In 1943 alone, pigeons delivered 75% of all messages to Mackay forces behind enemy lines. This was vital to the Allied invasion of Europe. The pigeons would trap their canisters deep behind enemy lines, allowing commandos to gather intel without risking exposure. In fact, one commando unit used carrier pigeons to relay information about German troop movements from civilians in Nazi-occupied France. Their codename was the Pigeon Network, and it was so successful that the unit earned the nickname the Feather Force. And the pigeons weren't just used in Europe. They flew dangerous missions all over the world. One bird named G.I. Joe served in the South Pacific, where his homing abilities helped liberate the Admiralty Islands from the Japanese. He was awarded the Dickin Medal for his service, which is the animal equivalent of the George Cross. The war ended, and people quickly forgot about the pigeons once again. But there's hope that they might be put to use again. Modern technology has miniaturized cameras and sensors, which could be attached to a pigeon to collect intel, or even dropped into remote areas for instant communication. Pigeons could help search and rescue teams, locate survivors, or even be used as a low-cost, eco-friendly method of package delivery. When you hear stories about the animals who served in World War II, it's easy to overlook the pigeons. But as this episode shows, these feathered soldiers often made the difference between victory and defeat. If you want to learn more about the animals who served in World War II, stay tuned for more information. And as always, thank you for watching.